Okay, so let's get started. Uh, the first thing to talk about are some of the things that you're going to do prior to any work with clients or anything. You're gonna set the stage for the coaching relationship with your clients. So there's a couple things you need to know in order to do that, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. So the first thing I want to call your attention to is the Global Code of Ethics for coaches, mentors, and supervisors. I actually have a copy of it right here that I've downloaded and printed off. You can just look it up on the internet. Again, it's the Global Code of Ethics for coaches, mentors, and supervisors. And if you just do a search on those terms, you'll find it easily. It's got as the name would suggest, it's an ethical code. It's got 5 sections. It's really only got 3 main sections. The first section is terminology, defining the terminology they use, and then the last section is are the people who have signed on, as they say, the signatories to the Global Code of Ethics. And so the main meat of the code is in sections 2, 3, and 4. Those sections are working with clients, professional conduct, and excellent practice. And guys, I got to tell you, this is really important. Definitely, if you're working with the Forward Foundation after training, we want you to know this code and to follow this code. This code will keep you from getting in trouble with your clients, and it'll protect your clients too. It defines the relationship, what's okay in the relationship, what's not okay in the relationship, how to handle things like dual relationships, or what if your client wants to go into business with you, or is it okay to be friends with your clients? All kinds of different scenarios that can happen in the course of coaching somebody. The code addresses that, and it's not rigid, but it's not completely flexible. I think it strikes a nice balance between giving you structure and an idea of what's okay and what's not okay, but at the same time not being so restrictive that you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your clients, like some ethical codes can be. So definitely you want to familiarize yourself with this. If something comes up in your client relationship and you're not sure how to handle it, go to the code and just see if the code has anything to say about it. And of course, you'll also have, if you're doing the formal coaching sessions and some sort of coaching service, then you will have a supervisor and possibly be a part of a group supervision. And you can talk about, the ethical dilemmas that come up and how to resolve them in a way that, again, protects you, protects the client, and protects the service, so that you can continue providing coaching, well into the future and not have anything happen. Like, unfortunately, sometimes there are lawsuits and things like that for malpractice. You'll also carry malpractice insurance. That'll be something we cover towards the end of the course, but you don't need to worry about any of that now, and it's not very expensive, and it does cover you. So you just want to make sure that as you're coaching, you're doing this in a responsible, professional way, and covering all your bases, so that people get the help that you started coaching in order to deliver to them. You didn't go down this road in life because you were hoping to hurt somebody. You're hoping to help people, and the code is going to help you with that. Okay. The other thing I want to cover in this section of the video is confidentiality. Now, if you go to your Life Care Training Workbook, which you should have received in the mail, there's a section on confidentiality and its limits there on page 7. So, Chapter 3, page 7, confidentiality and its limits. Now, there are, and this is true even in a professional counseling situation by licensed mental health practitioners. We have limits to, I'm a mental health practitioner, as you know, we have limits to confidentiality as well. If I'm subpoenaed, I may be subpoenaed to testify by a court, in which case I have to turn over the records and give my opinion on whatever they're asking me about. Also, if someone is going to harm themselves or someone else, I'm a mandated reporter, but so are you. So is everybody. So you can see on the bullet points there, client demonstrating imminent threat to kill, attack, or seriously injure themselves or someone else, confession of abuse or neglect of a child, elderly person, or physical or mentally challenged person, or if there's a risk of a client transmitting a life-threatening disease to an unaware partner. Those are reasons that you might have to break confidentiality. And I give you some guidelines there if you do have to break confidentiality, on how to do that. You don't just, not tell your client and then make the call. I mean, there might be a situation where something like that is called for. It probably would be very rare. First of all, you're not going to be getting clients who are doing these kinds of things, hopefully. But it could happen, so you need to know how to handle it if it does. So ideally, what you would want to do is let the client know, hey, well, first of all, you're letting them know in the intake process, which I'll cover that in a moment, but there is instruction in the intake forms about the limits of confidentiality. You want, and this is very important, you want your client to know ahead of time what the limits of confidentiality are. You don't want it to be a surprise to them that you have to report something if it does indeed come to that. Ideally, they would know that if they share certain things with you, that it has to be reported. And so you can tell them, hey, you've shared this with me. As you know from the intake form, I do have to report it. It doesn't mean I have to stop coaching you. It doesn't mean that I'm judging you. It doesn't mean I think you're bad or anything like that. You're struggling with something. I want to help you. But part of that is we have to report this. And then we can continue this relationship however it needs to look going forward, if that's still an option and you're still open to doing that. So, we want to come alongside people as they work through whatever, if they've found themselves in legal trouble or, whatever the issue is, we want to try and maintain the relationship, maintain the rapport, and continue walking alongside them as they work through whatever challenges there are. So you can read that section in more detail. I really encourage you to actually do the reading. There's a lot of information in there, and come back to it often. Highlight things, take notes in the margins. Let this be a resource to you as you grow in your coaching journey. Okay, so I think that's enough for this video, and in the next video we will talk about contracting, which involves communicating the limits of confidentiality and a lot of other stuff. So I'll see you in that one.